Another thing that I liked about Abraham was his instant obedience. Whereas you look at the Israelites, God would go on pestering them, hey, enter, please enter, commanding you enter. They would not enter. Abraham, even though he began, he just began his journey with this God, and God comes and tells him, get out of the country, out of your country, from the family and from your father's house. And look at verse number 4. As soon as the Lord tells him this, so Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him. This is one thing that I believe delights the heart of God. Instant obedience. You remember the time where anytime God would tell Abraham, anytime God would meet up with Abraham would, every time God would speak to Abraham, Abraham would immediately do that. Immediately. If he's not doing that, then he would build an altar. The moment God gave a promise, immediately he would build an altar. You remember the time when God told Abraham, take your son and sacrifice him? What does the Bible say? Early in the morning next day he got up. So this is one thing, that delights the heart of God. Quickly I want to take you to Mark chapter 1. If you look at Mark chapter 1, you will be amazed at the number of times the word immediately comes. Okay, quickly I'll read a few verses. Verse number 18, the disciples immediately left their nets and followed Jesus. Did you get that? Verse number 20, and immediately Jesus called them, and they left their father and the hired servants and went after him. Verse number 28, immediately his fame spread. Whose fame? Fame of Jesus. His fame spread throughout all the region around Galilee. And Jesus goes to Peter's house, and Peter's mother-in-law is sick. Verse number 31, and immediately the fever left her. Then he meets a leper. Jesus meets a leper. As soon as he had spoken, immediately leprosy left him. Do you see how many times the word immediately came? Where something happened immediately. You know why that happened? I believe because of verse number 12. Immediately the Spirit drove him into the wilderness, and he was there. You know why so many immediatelys happened in Jesus' life? Although he was God, he was still man, right? When he walked on the earth. So when we read the book, the first chapter in Mark, we see immediately the fever. When he's going, immediately fever left Peter's mother-in-law. Immediately the leper got healed. Immediately he got his set of disciples. Why were things happening immediately in the life of Jesus? You know why? Because of his immediate obedience to his Father. When immediately the Spirit drove him into the wilderness, he was there. Are you getting it? That was the root. And because of that immediate obedience, everything happened immediately in his life. If you sense that things are getting delayed in your life, check on how your obedience to God is. Delayed obedience is disobedience. You must have heard of this. This is not a scripture in the Bible, but I believe what the writer is trying to say is there is a grace that comes when you immediately obey God. That you can miss when you take time to obey Him. So next time when God speaks to you something, the longer your turnaround time is, the more you allow doubts to come in. the more you allow your flesh to take over. So God may use a man or woman of God to come to you personally and speak a word in your life saying that, hey, listen, you are going to start a cafe that will do very well. And you, the more you jostle with the thought, the more you say, okay, I can't even cook. How is it going to happen? I don't even have the finances. The more you allow doubts to come in. Okay, it also doesn't mean that you just immediately go without understanding and start a cafe. But what I'm saying is, immediately align yourself to the process, where at least you know that there's something that God has spoken, and it is confirmed by another man or woman of God. At least you start working in that area. You know that this is something that you always sensed, and now God has made it so evident. So immediately don't start and open a cafe. Immediately subject yourself to the process. Start learning. Start This is what you can immediately do. Start speaking the language of faith. Start going around in your area and serving your God, not the land, okay? Serving your God and saying, hey, start imagining, start dreaming and say, God, how is this location? How? You don't worry about how things will happen. That's not your problem. That is God's problem. And He has already solved it. Trust me. Even before you pitched your tent, even before you started your cafe, He has gone ahead of you and He has circled the spot for you. But He is looking at you. How is your language? How is your obedience? As the psalmist says in Psalm 119, verse 60, I will hurry without delay to obey your commands. I will hurry. If there's something that you need to hurry up in, it's in this that you change your language. It's in this that you speak the language of faith. It's in this that you imagine and look at things the way God is showing you.